Hey guys, this is Hunt for Games. As you're probably all aware, the Wildstar Reloaded, the free-to-play launch, has officially occurred. This Tuesday morning, the servers went live and were immediately hammered by, I'm assuming, way more traffic than Carbine Studios ever could have expected. So we've been, plagued with some severe lag and queues and other bugs and server issues since launch, making the game for many completely unplayable, including myself. Today, this is Friday, they added two more servers, essentially version 2 of the PvE and PvP servers, complete with free server transfers between the PvE or PvP version that you are currently on to try to accommodate people trying to play with their friends, with the intent to eventually merge those servers back with the originals once traffic calms down a little bit and they can solve some of the issues that are currently plaguing their systems. So great news. It seems to have worked. I decided to, with the hope of getting to play kind of consistently and with some stability, create a new character on the new PvP server, and see how that went. Honestly, I've played it for a few hours tonight, and it was great. It was flawless. There was no lag to speak of. I didn't get kicked out once. I take that back. I got kicked out once coming from the tutorial section, zoning into the real game. It did boot me out briefly, and I loaded back in immediately, and we were fine. So yeah, now that I've finally gotten some time to play the game, I can give some impressions on some of the changes that we've been experiencing in the beta, but like how they feel going live now, changes from the free-to-play version versus the intro section of the original game. And so far, I have to say, super impressed. I think all the changes they've made have been super positive. Really, really awesome. To improve upon the early game experience, which I'm a huge fan of this game so far. I've been really liking it, but even I was plagued a little bit with the kind of like the slowdown you experience, and I was kind of like, I don't know, maybe this is just gonna be one of those games, like another one of the game. Before I even got to the group content that everybody rants and raves about as the sole most amazing thing about Wildstar. So let's get into some of those changes. Let's see. Number one, first thing you'll notice as soon as you log in, there is some store buttons and, those general things that I haven't even looked into. They don't hammer it into your face. They've got a little blinking menu icon. You can just ignore it. They clearly do offer daily login rewards, which so far seem to be pretty awesome. They are account-wide. I noticed that today. Counted as day number 4, because I did manage to log in briefly on that launch day. But obviously this is a fresh character, and I still had like day number 4 of login rewards. So, I mean, for better or worse, I don't really think it's going to be a problem as soon as I settle down and decide on what character I want to continue playing with moving forward. So the tutorial has been drastically changed, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this through impressions and reviews of the open beta or closed beta. But it's a lot faster and smoother now. And overall, I have to say, I think it was a good decision. The original wasn't bad. It was pretty quick. But it seemed slow. It was a slog, and I can see how it could turn away players that are kind of hopping in, especially for a free-to-play game. You hop in, and you want to figure out pretty quick whether or not this is a game you want to invest some of your time in. And the new version of the tutorial quickly gives you a feel for the story, for your class a little bit, for what you're going to be doing, for what the game is all about, that the whole vibe of the humor and the art style. And then, it's over. And they shove you out. They quickly explain how the combat works, how certain menu systems work, and then you go down to the rest of the game on the planet Nexus, which I think is awesome. I don't know how you could shorten it any further, and I don't think you'd want to. They've also changed the story of the tutorial a little bit. There's a character you're kind of chasing around after, and a lot of the tutorial windows that pop up I think are far superior than they were in the original version. All positives. You have a bit more of a cohesive reason for wandering this tutorial in search of an exit and a completion. So I think all positive changes. So some of the combat changes. The only real thing that I can think of note is that they did add an option for an auto look under a couple different scenarios. One option is while in motion, one is during combat, one is while stationary. You can select one or all three or none of those options. I can't decide how I feel about this. I thought I was going to really love it, and then in practice, it feels a little weird. So this is to prevent you from having to hold down the right click when panning your camera around, which is super nice during combat, because obviously it gets annoying, especially during long battles, to just hold down right click constantly to aim all of your abilities. So as soon as you're in combat after that first attack, or they attack you, you can just have it automatically, while in combat, pan around natively, and then as soon as you exit combat, you have free control of your mouse again. And it works great. It works like they describe. I'm just not sure if I like it, because as soon as it's a weird jarring effect to go from having to hold the right click to not having to hold the right click. I don't know how to explain it. You'll have to sort of get in and test out yourself, see how it feels. I might be crazy about that. Everybody else might like it. Definitely leave in the comments your thoughts on the new system if you've gotten a chance to try it out. What your settings are, whether you have it set to both in and out of combat or what. I'm curious to see if somebody has a better setup that feels a little bit better than the way I tried, which is just in combat, and then I eventually ended up turning it off. Next addition I've noticed is this kind of, I don't know how to describe it, magic pack. It's the purple bag in the upper left corner of my inventory there, and you get it at level 1. And every few levels, it essentially unlocks again, and you can open the bag up, and you're just gifted stuff. Essentially for getting to level 5, level 7, level 10. I think this is fantastic. It's a little bit just kind of needlessly rewarding players for essentially just still playing the game, but I like it. I can't help myself. It's nice to just get some good gear, get some random drops of whatever. I think what it comes down to is now you have additional tiers of success at level 5, at level 7, at level 10, things that a player can look forward to. They see it coming up, and it's another level of achievement that's just really gratifying. You're like, oh, I can't wait till I get to 23. I'm gonna get another quick boost of equipment or whatever from my magic bag. I really wish I could remember the name of that during this impressions video. Another note about drops, just while I happen to be talking about them, I'm not positive whether or not this is just in my head. I think time will tell, but it has seemed that the flow of gear that you obtain from quests seems to be a little bit better this time around. I feel more often than not, what the gear that I obtain from completing a quest is better than what I already have. This may just be because I'm still early on and everything's still fairly linear, and once I'm kind of hopping between quests that are at my level or like one level below, this may kind of stop. But so far, it does seem better. So I'll be curious to see if that's just kind of a mental game I'm playing with myself, or was it an intentional change for the free-to-play launch. Regardless, it does feel like the flow for this early level period, which I think is very important for an MMO in general, but definitely for Wildstar's free-to-play launch. It does feel, it feels good. I think new players are going to be happy with how their progression is early on, and want to keep going into the early mid levels and start doing some group content, which is one of the most important things for an MMO. Next, we have another thing that I think makes Wildstar great, and I honestly can't tell you if this was here before in the original version, because I don't remember, but I don't remember seeing it, and I was in this area leveling, so I'd be surprised if I just missed it. But essentially, it's a small little area to teach you about healing, and I'm assuming there's a tanking little tutorial section for the DPS and tanking classes. I think this is fantastic, especially because of how Wildstar works with its everybody is either a damage dealer and a tank, or a damage dealer and a healer system. That means that half the population essentially come into the game almost sort of healers, but may not have really any idea what that's about, especially if they've never played a healer in a previous MMO or a healer in another type of game at all. I think this is a great little room that kind of explained how you have some extra hotbars you can set up for different scenarios, and then just has some NPCs around that are getting hurt and says, hey, go nuts, heal them, figure out how your class works. Because I'll be honest, the first time I played through, I got into some group content, and it was the first time I was expected to heal, and I thought I'd have a pretty easy time of it. I was like, yeah, how hard can it be? Pretty bad, apparently. I did terribly. I had no idea how the focus mechanics worked. I had no feel for how quickly my focus would drain. I didn't understand most of my abilities because I'd never used them before, and all of a sudden I was using like 5 or 6 of them. So partially my fault, but I think this new area, or existing, and I just missed it, will really help players get a better feel for how the class works on the healing perspective, because general questing won't give you that, because soloing by yourself is just, you're dealing as much damage, maybe casting 1 heal on yourself, but definitely not a hotbar full of them. So I think it's great. Last but certainly not least, I finally got to try out the Content Finder, the new addition for engaging in group content for Wildstar Reloaded. And so far, I mean, A+. At the high level of 7 that I was when I tried this, I basically had access to the PvP battlegrounds early on, which I did not engage in yet, and the Expedition Fragment 0 onto the meteor with the aliens, and I had done that before, but essentially what you're seeing here is what you get. I quick queued up for Fragment 0. I said I wanted to be a healer, and then just kind of clicked go, and it took a few minutes, and it popped me in with 2 other players, and we had a great time. This is great. I think this is going to really help a lot of new players that are fresh to the game. People, as they're just getting into a new game, are a little less confident about reaching out to essentially strangers and being like, hey, does anyone want to play this game with me? I don't know what I'm doing. And it's great that you can just queue up and it launches you in, and everyone's just like, hi, I'm here, I got launched into this group content. I think it's a great system. I've seen it work really well in other games such as Final Fantasy XIV, and apparently they had a similar system early on in the previous version of Wildstar, but it just was kind of buggy and didn't work that well. This seems to work great, and I can already see how it's going to be a useful tool to figure out content that is appropriate for my level that I might not be aware of. I'll be honest, it's easy to click through a lot of those level rewards. I probably wouldn't have even noticed that I could do any kind of PvP this early on in the game without seeing it in the Content Finder. So I'm excited to check that out too. Anyways, I kind of apologize that I don't have more content to discuss with you and show you. This is the first time all week I've really had a chance to get any kind of real playtime with Wildstar, unfortunately, due to the rough launch that it's had. Hopefully by next week, I'll have made it a little further in. I can keep, giving you guys my impressions and thoughts on how the free-to-play launch is going and how the new content works out. So far, I am impressed. It's been a rough launch. I bet there are a lot of really frustrated people out there that are upset they haven't been able to play. I've definitely been one of them all week. But I think they're really making some great strides with these 2 new servers. The experience has been much, much better tonight. I had a great time. The group content worked great. I really didn't have any disconnects. And so far, the game just still feels awesome. I can't wait to play it some more. Definitely leave in the comments your thoughts on the launch so far. Be as mean as you want. I do want to rant a little bit about the frustrating week that it's been. Also comment on the free-to-play, Switch in general. Do you think this is enough to rejuvenate the title? Or is it just, too little too late? I personally think that this game has a great chance of being one of the top MMOs now, that it's going free-to-play. It's a very saturated market, though, so, we'll see how that ends up actually going. Yeah, like I said, like the video if you liked it, and please subscribe for more. I've got plenty more Wildstar videos coming, and thanks for watching.